Hello folks, this is Meenakshi. Welcome to yet another episode of Soccer Stories. Today, let's go through the interesting events which took place in the 1970 World Cup. Outside of Europe and Latin America, the ever-expanding World Cup moved to a new territory for the first time in 1970. The decision to have Mexico as the host of this edition was taken way back in 1964, but still it was a challenge as the rarefied air in the host cities, which were at least 2,000 feet above sea level, did create a complex situation to the participating teams. Yet, the success of the 1968 Olympic Games, again in Mexico, and some of the stupendous results, especially in track and field, gave the thinkers of football a lesson or two on what high altitude can bring about. Acclimatization was the key for success, and teams did just that before the tournament began on May 31st. Of course, the nonchalant could at least pretend that it made life more interesting. What could have been prevented and wasn't worse, the careless sellout of the tournament to financial interests. Too many matches were played in noonday heat merely to satisfy the European television networks eager to televise at peak viewing times, even though it should be admitted that the coverage of the tournament in color was a novel experience. But in the end, there was enough and more reason to cheer as a Brazilian dream team with greats in Pelé, Jairzinho, Tostão, Rivelino, Gerson, Carlos Alberto, and Clodoaldo with attacking football and sublime skills made it a tournament to remember. The Mexicans were enthralled, and so too was the rest of the world, as the Selecao came through with a touch of class and took permanent possession of the Jules Rimet trophy. Israel representing Asia for the first and last time, and Morocco held the African flag as the qualifiers, in which 75 countries entered and 68 eventually took part, identified the 14 qualifiers to join Mexico and England in the final round. In group play, the Soviets and Mexico made it to the quarterfinals in Group 1 at the expense of Belgium and El Salvador, while in Group 2, Uruguay and Italy made it to the round of last 8, putting aside the challenge of Sweden and Israel by the wayside. Group 3, which was seen as the toughest of the four, witnessed intricate battles for supremacy before Brazil and England finished 1 and 2 ahead of Czechoslovakia and Romania. In Group 4 too, matters were not that simple prior to West Germany and Peru marching ahead of Bulgaria and Morocco. The quarterfinals did thus see several interesting matchups, but the one which held everyone's attention was the repeat between West Germany and England, reminding the final 4 years ago. This time around, it was the West Germans who had the last laugh as they came back from behind to post an accelerating 3-2 victory. Brazil knew and displayed the language of football and proved to be more adept practitioners as it dumped out Peru 4-2, and Italy went through to the round last 4, but not before stuttering a while against the host and the noisy Mexican fans. The Italian win, though would look comfortable in the end, what with the scoreline reading 4-1 in its favor. The Uruguayans too had to struggle before appending the Soviet Union by a solitary goal in a game which moved to extra time after being goalless in regulation period. The Uruguayans too had to struggle before appending the Soviet Union by a solitary goal in a game which moved to extra time after being goalless in regulation period. The Uruguayans would have fancied their chances in the semi-final, but the Brazilians saw to it that there would be no repeat of the 1950 final. This after conceding a goal very early on and before Clodoaldo, Jairzinho and Rivelino found a chance to toss themselves, guiding Brazil to a comfortable 3-2 win by the time the final whistle came. The Italy-West Germany semi-final was really something of a collector's item. In fact, Italy created much of its good fortune early in the game when a bad tackle by Bertini left the elegant Beckenbauer with an injured arm, the latter left to play much of the game at a strolling pace and in some pain, his arm strapped to his chest. Yet the Italian march was unstoppable as they took the lead in the 7th minute, and it was not until late into injury time that the Germans could find parity through Schnellinger. Into extra time and out came the nervousness and mistakes, the Germans going ahead through Müller and Bergschnitz finding the equalizer. Riva scored for the Italian towards the end of the first period, but the match as such was not over as Müller dived low to head the ball home. Finally, it was the combine of Bonanzegna and Rivera which helped Italy to stamp its class. Brazil won the much-awaited final and won it handsomely. The side did so with football of assured fluency, underlining its supremacy brilliantly against the master exponents of defensive football, all cliches about attack being the best form of defense. Fittingly, it was Pelé who gave the Brazilians their initial lead after 18 minutes, heading down a Rivellino cross. True, the great man had otherwise a comparatively human game, but his presence and brilliance had given the tournament as a whole a fine streak of class. But the Italians were quick to bring about a turnaround as a silly back pass by Clodoaldo helped them to rifle one back. The Brazilians made heavy amends in the second half as Gerson, Jairzinho and Carlos Alberto took turns to help their side through to a famous win. It was a popular victory, a welcome evidence that attacking football and an intuitive game still had their place in a footballing world obsessed with work rate and often skill-less hard running. More chance of samba and the spectacle of the greatest player of that or any generation, Pelé, being raised aloft by delighted Brazilian fans would always stand the test of time. Stay tuned to Striking Seconds for more soccer stories, and please don't forget to like, share and subscribe our channel. Hasta la vista.